Casual Magic has been brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can get cool stuff. Use the code CASUAL to get 5% off of your sale. And then also by Coalesce Apparel, where you can get really cool t-shirts and stuff, and use the code CASUALMAGIC to get 10% off your sale. And by Architect, a deck hosting website that doesn't really sell anything, but they like me and I like them, so kindly use them. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam Putt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., Coalesce Apparel, and Architect. And there's codes and all that stuff. You can find it in the show notes. Today, I have a super special guest coming back for the second time in this show. My dear friend and colleague, Sheldon Menery, the godfather of EDH, has decided to come back and join me today, which is great because it's hard for us to, make our schedules work sometimes. But I'm really excited because Sheldon just dropped an incredibly interesting article a few weeks ago that has caused the entire community to get itself in a tizzy. And I was hoping to discuss the future of Commander with the King of Commander himself. Hi, Sheldon. First off, how's it going? How's your health doing?
Sheldon, thanks for having me. I'm going to say not terrible. Is my health? I'm tomorrow, a day after tomorrow. I'm gonna do the fourth of 6 chemo infusions, and I'm not completely debilitated at the moment, so that's pretty good news. There was some lingering effects, but this has been better than the previous time. So,
hey, man, we take what we can get, right?
Yep.
That's good to hear, though. You look healthy. So,
well, except for your listeners are not going to see, but I'm rocking the Mr. Clean look.
I'll be honest, dude. It actually looks really good on you. It looks really cool.
When it comes back, I'm thinking about leaving the top off and then growing the beard back.
That's a good look. I think that's a real old-timey dwarf look. I'm a big fan. So, you made an interesting article with your thoughts and ideas for where EDH is going to go and where it kind of has to go from here. Specifically regarding expanding the RC, expanding the CAG, trying to, I guess, broaden the reach of this group or figuring out the best way to shape this format. Can you kind of summarize your thoughts? Like, where do you see us going?
Well, I've said for the last couple of years that if in 5 years the RC looks like it does right now, then we'll have failed. Right? The big thing from that article is that we've committed ourselves to expanding the RC in 2022, and again, we have the 40 to 60-year-old cishet white dude vote slammed shut right now.
I mean, it's hard to get more. Like, I don't know how you could find a better representation of middle-aged white judges from Magic than the Commander RC.
Privileged, yeah.
Yeah, well-to-do, well-off, and just, you guys are definitely have one corner of the format definitely locked down.
Right. So really, like in the article, I said that the next appointment or appointments really must look differently than us, and that caused some backlash on everyone's favorite website, and this isn't people have to understand this isn't tokenism. This is understanding that there are more than one person that we could choose for the job, right? There are a number of someones that might fit relatively well into the job.
Sure.
And when that's the case, and you only have 1 or 2 seats, the people you pick are the ones that don't look like the ones that are already there. This is organizational leadership. This is not, this isn't just something that I made up out of thin air.
So yeah, you were saying. I'm sorry. The my microphone decided to die.
Yeah, so like I was saying, this isn't just a theory that I made up myself. This is good organizational leadership, right?
Yes.
And we really want the the ruling body of Commander and the advisory body of Commander to look as much like the whole body of Commander
Right.
as we can, right? I mean, we can't represent every demographic. There are only so many seats,
Right.
but the commitment to making sure that there is change, and people who come from different places in life than we do, people who've had different struggles than we have, will come with a different thought process,
Right.
right? Someone who has been in a a traditionally marginalized group will come at solving problems differently than we might. So that is a diversity of thought, right? We're not putting people. We're getting approach diversity,
Hmm.
not necessarily philosophical diversity,
Right. And
right?
it's
We're not upending we're not turning over the tables in the temple here.
right. And I mean, it's interesting because the other thing is that folks who have come from a different, standpoint or a background will have had different experiences, even just playing the game. So they'll
Yep,
see different problems that you might not have otherwise
yep,
noticed. I mean, things like what it's like at an LGS if you're a woman or if you're gay or if you're in a community where it's predominantly one group and you're belonging to a second group. What does
right.
that feel like? How does that change a social format that we've got? And because I noticed a lot of people have been like kind of up in arms, like, you guys are just advisors who make like band decisions. What do you need to know? Like, what does it matter whether it's a woman or a man or a white guy or a black person or whatever? Right. And it occurs to me like, it's not just that though. That's not just what we do. If we're trying to model a community, if we're trying to model a social behavior for a social format that involves people playing with each other, then we want to make sure that those interactions between people are as smooth as possible. And also, like, the more different voices we have, the more ways we can see where these are going to be challenges that we run into.
Yeah, absolutely. Commander is the social format first, a gameplay format second, and um, if if you don't like that idea, well, you're probably not listening to this podcast for one. um,
Fair.
yeah, that's the ground truth, and quite honestly, it's the way it's going to stay. So it makes sense that we do think of social things first,
Right.
that we think of this society that we've drawn together through um, the resonance. We didn't set out to rule the world
Right.
here, right?
I'm sure
Uh,
it comes as a big surprise to you guys, especially that suddenly Commander is the way to play Magic.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw that about 2013 or 14, maybe 15. I saw the wave coming. Um,
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you expected it still. You were like, wait,
right,
what do you
yeah,
mean?
right. We never expected it. I figured that, um, you know, I had a moment at that first that first Command Fest
Hmm.
up in Seattle, the first morning of the show. About an hour in, I was playing a game with some folks, and about an hour in, I just stood up to kind of stretch my legs and looked around the room, and there were like 1,100 people playing Commander together. And you know, 15 years earlier, I wouldn't have thought that there would be 1,100 people all around the world playing the format. So it was a moment, like it was a
And
moment,
in a dedicated Commander only room at that,
right? Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
this is an
GTF
event.
FO out of here, modern
Yeah,
players.
like, think about it, dude. That was an event people had to go to specifically just to play Commander,
Yeah,
which is one of those things where you're like, oh, but that changes the way you look at the format too, right? Because suddenly you're like, oh, now I've got a much larger audience. How do
yeah.
we cater to these guys without losing what made Commander bring these people here in the first place?
Yeah, that's and I think that's the crux of the biscuit right there. It's how do we take care of this broad player base without losing our identity?
Yes.
The again, this is a social format. It's staying that way.
Right.
And how do we stay there without anybody feeling like we're telling them the way they like things is wrong,
Hmm.
right?
Well, I mean, one of the problems though you're going to run into, and this is the thing that I know you and I both run into quite a bit, is that there are folks who have realized that the only way they can play Magic right now is Commander because all the other formats are dead. So they have to, in their areas, and they're like, well, okay, I have to start playing Commander, but I'm a vintage player or a legacy player, or like I like to play very competitive, quiet, straightforward, cutthroat Magic. And you guys are telling me that I can't because of these social norms and like having to deal with group dynamics. And I think there's a problem here in one. It's not that like this is Commander's fault. Commander has a very clear thesis. We know what we are. You know what we are. It's the problem is that the other formats need to be healthy
Yeah,
because we cannot be the only place people come to play Magic.
yeah,
That's bad for Magic, right? Like those vintage players and stuff need to have a place where they can get their straightforward competitive edge out. I respect that a lot, and I respect that urge a lot. Like I love playing Vintage Cube where we sit there and play Leovolds and all the cards that I hate in Commander. I go to
right.
Vintage Cube to just sit and kill you with, but we need to have a place in Magic. Like, what do you think about that? What do you think about the idea that part of the problem that we're running into in trying to handle what Commander is and keeping its identity is the fact there's nowhere else for anyone to go.
Yeah, I pointed that out in my back earlier in 2021. Um,
Happy New Year,
uh,
Sheldon.
yeah, uh, in my top five concerns article, which apparently broke the Star City website for a little while.
Yeah,
Um,
that was an interesting one.
that the death of other formats is one of my concerns. Is one of our it's become our problem,
Right.
right? Um, there's there's a people want to play Magic, and like you said, if the only way they have to play Magic, they're going to play Commander, and they're going to bring whatever mindset from whatever format they're coming from, and try to port it over to Commander because that's what they see. That's what they see from if somebody is uh, you know an all competitive formats player, then that's what they know, right?
Right.
And they jump from limited to constructed by thinking the same way, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to maximize and I'm going to win as efficiently as possible, so forth and so on. Well, the skill set doesn't necessarily get ported over when you come to Commander, or it does, but there are other skill sets that are more important,
Right.
right? That are more part of the society of Commander, and that's where we start butting heads with folks. Some people get it, and some people don't, right?
Right.
And some people want to get it and struggle with it, and then there are the other people who like, no, you have to do it my way,
Yes.
and the answer is a resounding no. Actually, we don't, because you know and one of the reasons is because we're the 800-pound gorilla.
Right. And that's a weird place to be as a fan run format. I mean, it's
Yes,
weird. Okay, first off, let's address the fact that calling Commander a fan run format's a bit of a stretch these days, given how many people work inside the building, slash how integrated you guys are with,
sure.
R&D and the fact that the Commander products come out every year. Like we don't see
Yeah.
Oathbreaker cards coming from officially, right? Um, but as a format that WotC deliberately and explicitly does not want to control itself,
Right.
it's a little bit of a challenge that the formats that they do control are not being able to serve the player needs. So all those players are coming to us. And I know like I'm pretty loud and outspoken when it comes to like, look, Commander's a casual format. We need to keep it casual. I want people to have like long slugfest. I want you to be able to have your fun. I mean, everybody knows what I stand for, but we also, I mean, I'm not saying we need to change Commander, but we do need to find a way to give these people something to do. I don't know. I struggle with that. Like, should we be trying to make a room for like we can't be the I mean, it's weird because I'm like stumbling over my thoughts here because one of the problems is you see a lot of people saying Commander is the big tent for everybody to play everything. And to an extent, that's partially my fault for even saying that loudly and over.
Mhm.
But it's also no, it can't be. Commander's a
Right.
4-player multiplayer format meant for
Yeah.
like not competitive play. Yeah, you can make it competitive. Yeah, you can play. I mean, I think also CDH being a misnomer, it's like it's still a social way to play with 4 people, just happens to be using the most high end cards you can. That is fine. It's the folks who want to be like, no, we're sitting here and I'm going to be playing turbo stacks and you're going to be playing adnods and we're going to try to kill each other and like quietly and then pick up our cards and leave. And then they get mad when someone brings cleric tribal to the table. That's where I think we have a problem, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't look. I don't care how much beer and pretzels you have.
Mm,
A turn playing where turn 2 kills are possible is not casual.
right.
Right. That's all there is to it. And again, recently I wrote a piece, a sort of think piece about the different axes of uh, of what we might consider casual, because we can say the term casual and be talking about different things.
Right.
We can talk about the decks we play being casual, or the atmosphere that
Right.
we're in being casual. So the problem is when people use one term and are missing each other with the
Yeah.
connotation of the meeting.
Yeah, because there's casual and like we're playing social as opposed to cutthroat. There's casual as in like I buy one precon a year from Target and then I play
Okay.
like, relaxed. And then there's casual versus like, I'm playing, big dumb creatures versus you guys playing like Storm. But there's got to be a there's got that word is so bad. I mean, and I say this as a guy who runs a show called Casual Magic. That word is so bad for what we're trying to explain because that if you use that idea, then it's comes with negative connotations and pejoratives and like the problem of trying to make like I've said many times, I think the biggest problem in Commander is making sure that the people are sitting at the right table. I think
Yeah.
that is the problem that could be like that's the biggest problem. If you sit there and know that like the other 3 people at the table also want to just smash face and you brought your smash face deck, great. You guys are at the right table. Do it with my blessing. But if you're like sitting there and bringing, Baral all counters versus somebody who's trying to play Sphinx Tribal or something, nobody's going to have a good time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we preached for the longest time that it doesn't matter what you're doing; it's getting everybody on the same page.
Absolutely.
Right. It's getting a group, and I have to be honest. We philosophically we believe that Commander is best played with people you know.
Right.
The best Commander games are with people that you already have a rapport with, because for one, you're invested in those people, right? Whether they're your friends or your sort of extended social group,
Sure.
you have some sort of investment in making that a positive experience.
Mm.
In however you define the positive experience. When we go to bigger events, when we go to Command Fest, or we go to a GP, or whatever the replacement of a GP is going to be.
Magic
Um,
Fest or whatever the thing in Vegas was called.
um, I'll tell you what the future of people gathering to play Magic is going to be called. It's going to be called Command Fest.
I mean, fair, right? Like,
um, anyway, um, so the problem when you go to those things and sit down with random people, or even if you go to an LFG server online, those people, you and those don't have an investment in those people. Those people don't have an investment in you.
right.
So there are going to be people who are like Rofel Stomp and GGs, and then there are going to be other people like, hey, maybe I'm looking to make a connection.
Right.
Uh, like you know,
I'm looking to find
I'm
friends to play with.
right. I want to find new friends.
Right.
Right. I have old friends. Now I want to find some new ones, and we share this. We share the love of this thing. So let's see if we can make a connection there.
Right.
And I think that's especially been important during the last 2 years because people have been feeling that isolation.
Yeah. And there's such a huge problem where now we've got people trying to like figure out how to stack your decks against each other, how to rank decks, how to make decks based on power level and this and that. And I think that's the wrong direction to try to build your deck from. Like you should be building your deck from, hey, I think this is a cool idea and I want to try to either use these cards or this commander or something and build an interesting deck that makes me happy to play, as opposed to, a pile of good cards. But that's just my personal preference. The thing though we're seeing is that with there's servers online where you can sit and meet up and try to play with other players. And what you're ending up doing is just having almost like speed dating with EDH, where you're like, up, turns out I was looking for long walks on the beach and I just got, punched in the face. And that's not, we're not having that. Like your power level of your deck is not going to ensure a good time, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Well, I think what we can do. People ask, why doesn't the RC publish their tiered lists or whatever? And the answer is because it would be a futile exercise, right? It
30,000
wouldn't be
cards. Good
worth
luck.
anything. The thing that I think we can do, and that I hope that we've started to do, like with this philosophical piece uh, on defining casual, is help people start developing the language that they need,
Yes.
that so that they can have a useful and fruitful conversation when they sit down with other people,
Right.
or before they sit down with other people. As you're milling around looking for a game. um, I the like the last event that I went to, GP Reno,
Hmm.
um, 2 years ago
The
now.
greatest event.
The greatest event.
Who knew that that was going to be the end of Magic,
Amen.
right?
The the Channel Fireball thing worked reasonably well.
It was like starting point, right?
You know, uh, I, I didn't hear a lot of people complain about having bad games. I saw the high powered people had found their area over by one of the tensor barriers, and there were people railbirding, and that was great, and they were having a good time. And I don't remember having any bad games. Um,
To be
I
fair, though,
don't
that
think.
is also your Sheldon, right?
Yeah, but there's there are going to be those people who are going to want to show up and go, haha,
Yeah, that's fair.
turn two killed you. Oh, wait a minute. Let me play Joyra and suspend apocalypse, and we'll have a good time. Um, but so yeah, I like it. It worked reasonably well. It wasn't the perfect solution, but it was a start. And I hope that one of the things that we can do again is help people find that language,
Right.
is help people find how they can discuss it. The problem being, and I, I don't know how many times that I can say that rule zero isn't the engine, it's the ejector seat. I guess I'm gonna have to come up with some other witticism,
Yeah, because there are not a
because
lot of pilots out there, right? So,
because that one's not working. People go, well, why not just why have a ban list just rule zero, or so it goes either why have a ban list just rule zero it, or why does the RC just say rule zero everything?
right. And it's
Right.
like neither of these are true. I think this actually leads exactly into where I was hoping to go with this, which is Rule Zero has a definitional problem. I think Rule Zero was started with a good intention, which is like,
Mhm.
hey, let's help people have conversations before they sit down, because all it is sit down and make sure that the game that they're playing and the game you're playing are the same game, or at least in the
Yeah.
neighborhood of the same game, right? And what it's ended up being is this bludgeon of like, oh, you want Planeswalkers as Commander? Well, you better Rule Zero it with your friends because I'm not going to let you. Or hey, how come you guys won't let me Rule Zero use like Prime Time or whatever? And all of just this like complete nonsense. It has become shorthand for like beating people for playing a way of Magic that you're not doing. And I
Yeah.
think that has missed the point entirely and has almost made the idea of Rule Zero useless in terms of like a definitional explanation of how
Yeah.
we want people to talk. And
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
yeah, and so one of the issues I think we need to figure out is how do we tell people like we're not trying to direct the way you play. We just want you to make sure that you're chatting. We don't need you to give us an essay about your deck. I don't need a thesis of all your win cons, but maybe just say like, "Yo, my deck is creature heavy," or "I like to play really heavy interaction stuff." I don't know. There's like Rule Zero templates and conversations, but it shouldn't. We should first off probably get rid of the term Rule Zero. Secondly, just try to find a way to say like, "Look, the ban list is here not because of we're trying to direct your game. It's just some cards are just not compatible with a 4-player multiplayer format
Yeah.
and they can't be there. That's all." Like
Well, and it's got to be. I mean, there's got to be a
there
baseline,
has to be a
right?
baseline.
There's got to be a baseline for people who don't play together
Yeah,
regularly to work on. Um, so the again, like it's there for untrusted groups.
right.
Um, your regular group who meets every week, they don't. I know a lot of regular groups who still use the baseline band list, but they don't need it like the people who don't know each other need it.
Right.
And I mean, that's what it's for. Now, I think we also believe that playing without these cards provides better games,
Yes.
right? But to say that because we've directed a certain way that we're telling you that if you like some other style of game you're doing it wrong is just so wrongheaded and so intentionally contrarian that I like there's no way to engage there and have a reasonable discourse.
Yeah, because it just feels like you're going to the extreme, right? Like if you really want to play Paradox Engine against your CEDH friends at home and it's the way that you help beat their deck, fine, go ahead, man. Like, we're not going to Kool-Aid Man into your house and stop you. But what the key is like, this is bad for play at a game store when you
Yeah,
walk in on Friday night. And we want to make sure that everybody who sits down that's not the last Commander game they play, right?
right,
Like, I think Toby has said it best is like, play like you want to be invited back,
right,
right? And that's all it is. The ban list is just like, hey, these cards are probably not going to get you invited back, except with your friends. And if you're playing
right,
with your friends, hey, you've solved it. You're doing the thing we want you to do
right,
anyways. Go at it.
right.
Like, I don't know. It feels like there's some deliberate misrepresentation by people who are mad that we took away their toys, but it's not you. It's the fact that there's a gigantic million plus
Right.
people playing, and we want to make sure that all of them are having fun too.
As many of them as possible.
Right. I mean,
Like
sure.
it would be hopelessly naive to think that we could
Yes.
make sure that everybody's having fun.
Right, exactly. I mean, like, there's no way to do that. But at the very least, the way it's gotten here, like, we didn't get to being this size because the poor decisions were made, right? And
Right.
when you guys make poor decisions, you've definitely changed your minds. So
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for you guys to change your minds on Companion, but that's not my problem. I mean, maybe it is my problem, but
Well, I mean, if you want us to change your mind, it definitely is your problem.
yes, like I think I don't like the idea of having an extra commander on the side. But there are people who play who play companion decks now, and that ship has sailed because these decks are thematic and cool and fun. And I'm like, all right, well,
Yeah.
too late, move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because, like, I think we're at a crux point where Commander is stable, Commander is growing, Commander is doing really, really well, which is like the perfect time to do maintenance on things like who's in the CAG and the rules committee, what Rule Zero is, what the format should look like. So I
Yep.
think you guys are making the right steps here.
Yeah. The whole thing is that we don't have to be evangelists for the format anymore.
Yeah.
Right. We don't the momentum. We've gained enough people uh, that the momentum is there, so that we don't need to pay attention to numbers, like bringing numbers in, but we do want to pay attention to what happens to those people we bring in. We want those people to stay.
Right.
And I think that the thing is now that we move our focus from from promoting the format to
Maintaining.
making the format better,
Mm,
to maintain, to maintenance. One, it's like a portfolio.
yeah,
You don't need to, like, we have enough cash now. We don't need to grow our portfolio. We need to maintain its thing. Now we need to rewicker where some of the investments are, right?
sure.
And we I really want, I'm really ambitious about 2022,
Hmm.
right? That that article laid out some things that aren't going to be easy to do, or simple to do, um, in a year's time,
Right.
but it's what I want to get done, right?
It feels like an accountability
It's
post almost. Like, hey, I'm staking my claim for these are the things I want to have done in order
yeah,
to force yourself to do them.
yeah, yeah. Well, the I mean, the real thing is that these things take time and effort,
Right.
right? And it's not like we're a money making body,
No,
right?
it's
We don't have a commercial interest.
yeah, you
Um,
can't. That would I think that that would be the worst possible thing you could do is have a commercial interest as people who run this format, frankly.
yeah, like WotC paying us to do this would be intensely problematic to me.
I think that would be ethically questionable and I would not support that. Even though
Yeah,
it would be great. It would be cool,
it
but
would be
like
great. Yeah,
like it would be rad. But no,
it would be great to get some of that cabbage, um,
but that's not the way this should work, man. Like this should
but
definitely be people who can sit there and say like, "Hey, maybe that's not a good idea."
well, so does that factor into who who sits on the RC?
Hmm.
Right? Does I mean, again, I realize the incredibly privileged position that the four of us are in, and that none of us need Wizards of the Coast to pay us to run
Right.
Commander,
I
right?
mean, Commander is expensive. Like, let's be honest, Commander is like a very expensive way to play Magic. Yes, there are budget decks and stuff, but building a Commander deck, building and maintaining a Commander collection costs a lot of money. And I think more than any of the other various distinctions, I think the issue of like class and finance and stuff in terms of that's something that I think whoever the next RC member is should be somebody who has an understanding of because like Wizard of the Coast and look, they're all my friends and I work with them for various reasons, but their mandate is to sell cards.
Yeah,
And if we're running a casual format, then one of our things should be like, we want to make sure that the format is accessible to people who want to play it. And sometimes that also means like thinking about the financial consideration. And I think it's a big deal for whoever the next people to join our bodies are, is to be able to have that kind of perspective. At least, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a like burn all the hatches and we're going to be like pro proxy all the time, but it's more like, hey, I understand what it feels like to come at this game
right,
from not being able to afford Gaia's Cradle, right?
right.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I actually, Toby comes from a relatively privileged background. I don't think that I don't really know about Gavin's, and I think Scott was from the middle class, and I came from a lower middle class background. You know,
yeah,
it's so we have understandings of that. The question that I was sort of lobbing your direction is,
mm,
should should would we be creating a problem by putting someone on the RC who would need the money in
right.
order to take the seat?
I think that's a because look, the RC is a really time consuming body, right? Like, let's be
Yeah.
honest, it takes a lot of time and a lot of communication working with all these people, being in touch with all these channels. I
Well, for me, the other three are just coasting along.
yeah, fair. I mean, like Gavin's got like his full time job to deal with. Toby's got his job to deal with, and Scott is just very happy to be Scott. But I think that's a good question, and I don't know that. I mean, no, because I think that anybody you would even think about for putting on the RC would be somebody who would. understand the ethical need for separation between us and
Yes.
WotC. And
Yes.
whether they're financially supportive enough to be able to do that or not, that's a different question. And I think
Yeah.
that there is merit to thinking about that. But I think that it would not be one of like I would be really uncomfortable if you took one of the CAG members who currently works for Wizards of the Coast and made them into another RC member.
That's not happening.
Yeah, and I think
So here's the thing. I'm gonna I think you already know this, but I'm gonna tell you directly, and but tell everybody who's listening directly. We will never appoint a Wizards of the Coast employee to either the RC or the CAG.
hmm,
If if WotC later poaches someone, like they have with,
like half of the
like,
body.
okay, so we made the CAG appointments, the original CAG appointments 3 years ago now,
Yeah.
and like
Wow,
a
it has
week
been like
later,
almost exactly 3.
yeah, um, like a week later, Rachel Agnes pings me. It's like, I may have a problem. Stibbs pings me. It's like, may have a problem. But I mean, I trust the ethics of those people.
Sure.
So, that we're fine. And then, of course, they post Ellie, which is like a
Phenomenal.
great get.
Like,
It's
I
a
love it.
phenomenal get for them. A year ago or 18 months ago, we were just discovering Ellie, right?
Yeah.
The world was just, and we discovered her along with everybody else. And I'm super happy that we could be there, like as her supporters, along the way. And I was super happy when she got that job.
Dude, she's awesome. She's going to do great in that role. And I think she's got a smarter head on her skull than a lot of people have been giving her credit for. And I think she's like phenomenal. I mean, she's one of my
Yeah,
favorite people in the community.
yeah,
I'm stoked about it, but I was also like, oh, is this going to be a problem?
yeah. No, so we're never going to appoint a WotC employee. But if someone on the CAG
Hmm,
got a WotC job, um, I would not ask them to leave. I wouldn't even blink about them being there.
right.
If someone on the RC got a long-term WotC job,
Yeah, I think
that
that's
I
where I would have a problem, I think.
that I would have a problem with that too.
Like,
One is enough.
yeah, I think Scott being grandfathered in is fine and one thing, but I think if whoever the next RC person is ended up taking a job at Wizards, I think that would be too much representation from the
Yeah,
the mothership. Um, which is, I mean, like, I don't want to like put limits on what people you can choose from, but at the same time, I do. Like, I really
yeah,
want this person to be very carefully picked out as because these appointments, I mean, for all of it's like literally a lifetime gig. It's and it's
yeah.
and that's a lot for just running
That's the
this
Supreme
format.
Court.
Yeah, like so that let's make sure that there's the least chance of conflict of interest as possible. And
Yeah,
God knows there's a bunch of people who are really, really good, both on the CAG and off the CAG, who would make great like stewards for the format, who understand what you want. And I think one of the things I had told you when you guys made this announcement to us in the CAG room is it's important to me that whoever joins this body is somebody who has come to EDH after. Like somebody who's, I mean, I'm not saying they need to have played Magic after EDH started, but I'm saying somebody who's come to it when EDH was already an established idea. Because when you come to Commander and Commander is already a thing that exists, the way you look at it is very differently than the way that you who have seen Commander grow from the beginning would look at it,
right.
right? Because like they would sit there and be like, oh, dockside, or looking at all these precons, or thinking about what costs are for like just playing the game and single printing issues and stuff. And I think the perspective shift of being a Commander native is valid and important to kind of represent on this body.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great input. I think that, well, and
Like Olivia,
especially,
right? Like she's like brand new to Commander. I mean, the
yeah,
fact that she came to Magic from Commander is by
yeah,
itself stunning.
yeah. Well, I mean, even somebody like Rachel Weeks
Right.
didn't start playing until like 2014 herself,
That's wild.
and
That's wild,
and
really.
yeah. Well, 2014 was 8 years ago, by the way.
Oh, good God.
So yeah, someone coming to uh, to Commander post Commander's boom probably makes a lot of sense, and it also makes sense that um, that we want younger people.
Right.
Again, we've got that age demographic, right? We have somebody in their 40s, Gavin,
Mm.
with two people in their 50s, Scott and Toby, and we have somebody in their 60s. So, like, maybe somebody in their 30s, maybe somebody in their 30s is the right call. Um,
Yeah.
but again, it's still going to be from the pool of the right people.
Yes.
Then we have to winnow it down.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, like going back to the beginning discussion we had, that pool of the right people is a very diverse pool, full of people
Yeah,
from all walks of life. And that I think is what you were meaning by we need to diversify. It's like if these two candidates are equal, maybe we take the one who's never had a seat on this kind of body as
yeah.
opposed to the one who's already there. And I get that that rankles some feathers, but also tough, bud. Like,
Well, I mean, we were clear. We were clear with you in the beginning. I mean, you're an OG CAG member.
mm,
We were very clear that the CAG is not a stepping stone to the RC.
absolutely.
Right
No, yeah.
now,
And I'm not
that
saying it
said,
should be. I'm just saying,
right,
like, it's good to. I'm saying in terms of like diversity of, like, person. It's good to
right,
get somebody outside of America or outside of being a
right.
dude or whatever it is. Your various demographics.
Outside of something,
Yes, get something new, man. Show me something different. I'm
right?
not going to say
So,
no, but
yeah, I mean, it would be stupid of us to not look at the CAG
sure.
because you're all really smart people,
I mean, you guys brought us on for a reason.
right?
I think.
You specifically, it was just a deflection shield for me, so there's somebody else to yell at.
I would like to think that I've gotten a lot better about that and that I no longer light myself on fire. And
You don't,
it's
you don't, and it annoys the crap out of me.
boy howdy, we've had some weeks, haven't we? Um, wow. So I look forward to seeing the kinds of discussion that this brings up, and I look forward to seeing the people you guys end up thinking about, because I think it's going to be really fascinating to see where this format goes.
Well, the people that we're going to look at, um, again, they need to understand more than Commander,
Yes.
right? Certainly, they have to. The philosophy of the Commander has to resonate with them. They have to be able to articulate their position on that, or our group thinking. Um, they have to be able to positively engage with people, with the community, think proactively. Um, they have to. I think one of the things that people don't understand is that they have to be able to understand where Commander sits in the broader Magic ecosystem,
Hmm.
right? And where um, where the moving parts there are, like articulating what you said earlier about the death of other formats and how it impacts us.
Right.
That's a right. That's a thought that somebody on the RC would have to be able to come around to.
Yes.
Certainly, and certainly the ability to positively engage with WotC and understand the difference between them and us.
Mm.
Understanding independence versus versus dependence, and what interdependence means,
Mm.
um, and the ability to tell WotC no,
Right.
right? The ability to say no, that's not going to happen. No, we're not changing hybrid mana because hybrid mana works already.
Oh God, hybrid mana. Yeah, like I'm sure that
Sorry, the H word. Sorry, I need to put a dollar in the jar.
somebody asked about that because I put a tweet up asking for questions, and someone's like, "Sheldon, hybrid mana." I'm like, "Nope, not even, not even." Just okay. Well, cool. So let's change tack for 10 seconds because that's been a
Sure.
good heady half an hour, 45 minutes, or whatever of conversation. Um, you've been playing a whole lot of games on stream, and it's been really fun to watch. Uh, how do you these days, with like the fact that we're getting 10,000 legends a day, how do you decide if you're going to build a new deck or just increase an old one? This is a question a bunch of
Um,
people have asked, and I think it's a really interesting one to ask you.
Yeah, like I have the desire to build X new decks from each set.
Hmm.
Uh, but like that just like I can't do it. Like I don't have the time. I wanna sit back and enjoy what I've built before I have to start building something else. And it's just like the pace at which things are coming at us is great for some reasons because it means there's a lot of stuff in there and somebody can find something in there for them. Uh, but trying to keep up with everything is an effort. As a content creator, it's great because I almost like I only have 9 weeks of the year that I have to think up my own thing, my own idea for an article, right? It's oh, let's take our first looks at the preview cards, and oh, now we're going to do a full set review, and now I'm going to see how I'm going to change all my decks for that set, and then um oh, I'm going to build this commander out of this set, and and then by then we're rolling into another preview season, and um and again, it makes the content creator job a little easier. It makes the fans job a little harder because as a fan, I want to luxuriate in the new cards,
Right?
and and I just don't have like Strixhaven's still a new set to me. Um, the thing is, so the answer to the question is when something really strikes me, I'll build it. But I update. I have 61 decks now, and
Jesus.
I update them with each new release. Right? Not all 61 get an update, but I do an update. I sort of
Don't you
do
have
an
like
update.
3 zombie decks?
Yes.
I mean, I think you finally convinced me to build my second one now that I was just sitting there like, I cannot put any more zombie cards in my zombie deck. I'm out, and I don't want to lose the ones I've got.
Right.
So I guess I
We
have
have
to build a new Wilhelt deck or something.
it's time for three. It,
It hurts me though because I love my deck. I mean, sometimes you got to let them
well,
go,
well, that's the problem. That having 61 decks, some of them don't get played that often,
right? Yeah,
right? So I like how does um Cure for the Common Game Brian
yeah.
Canada how does he play 1,000 decks? I
I
mean,
think he
he
doesn't
can't.
actually. I think he plays like 3 of them, and then just
Yeah,
has a rest because he's committed himself to an insane project that made
right,
way more sense before WotC put out 150 new legends
right,
every
right.
God.
So for so I built old stick fingers
Hmm.
because that just it resonates with dumb stuff in your graveyard resonates with me, right? So I built it. I built Brina because
That deck looks rad. Brina is such a cool commander.
um, because I was involved. There was there was a on Andrew Weber's Facebook group, EDH Commander on Facebook, which has like 70,000 members now or something. Um, somebody asked, "Why do you play Commander?" And my answer was, "Kind of have to at this point."
So, what do you think about? Goodness gracious! What do you think about the fact that, like, with Modern Horizons and other sets like this, WotC has been designing directly for Commander? And I know that this is a thing that's been happening more and more in the past few years, but it feels like this year, especially, we've been getting very explicitly this is a Commander card. And some
Mhm.
of these things are way more efficient than you or I might like in the format. And so, have you considered the impact of what it's like to have directly designed for EDH cards and what you might tell WotC in terms of like, hey, no more dock sides?
Yeah, I think we're actually about the time Strixhaven came out. We started seeing the result of some of the conversations that we had back when I was there in 2019. the remember, you got to remember, or folks have to remember that the design process, it takes a long time,
Yeah.
right? But when you have a conversation about a card to the time the card hits the streets is a long time. But I think part of part of what I did when I was there, besides just design cards, was have conversations with people like Ethan Fleischer, like Glenn Jones, like Gavin Verhey, about what make good commander cards and what don't.
Hmm.
And while a few things have slipped through the cracks, I think we've seen over the last year the impact of those conversations, of how the they successfully, for the most part, successfully gated the power of things,
Right.
where like they can be powerful, they're just not generically powerful, right? Generically good is not a good commander card.
Right.
And um, I think we're seeing that you have to dig in order to get the value out of some of the new cards, and that's exactly what I think makes good commander cards. Um, so the the answer to your question, how does it make me feel about them designing cards for the commander? Now that I think we've gotten to a good point philosophically with them, or gotten them on board philosophically with us, I think it's I think it will be very healthy for us.
Hmm.
I think it will. I think it will aid us in consolidating our nefarious power.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, I worry, especially now that they've replaced precons with commander decks. I mean, not precons, the rather intro decks with commander
mhm.
decks. And so that's like 12 more decks a year. There's
Yeah,
all these extra cards that are going straight to set design, set packs, set booster packs, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. It feels a little like danger zone territory to me. But I think you're right in that they've made less Tulanes, less Goluses, and more like, Prosper or
yep,
like Vrondis or something, like really cool cards that are very, very focused and require you to jump through hoops in order to build a deck. I think those are awesome. I think it's fantastic to see like for instance Wolfgar that showed up in the Forgotten Realms deck,
yeah,
or like all actually the Forgotten Realms commander sets in general were so like narrowly focused and force
yep.
you to look at your cards in different ways. And I think that's brilliant. I hope they keep doing that instead of less
Yeah,
like,
I hope they do, and I think they're going to, after numerous conversations.
because like they don't want cards to be banned either.
No,
Like they want to make a
no,
cool version
exactly.
of. I'm sure that they would have been frothing at the mouth to make an awesome secret layer of Golos through the seasons or something like that. That would have been rad. But that card is too good to live.
Well, the card is just not healthy,
No,
and
no, it's
and
not.
I understand that there are people that disagree with me on that very thing. There are people on the CAG who disagree with me on that very thing, right?
Yeah.
From a format level perspective, it is an unhealthy card, right? Because it's generically good.
The fact that you could build basically, as Toby said, and we tested this out, any deck you have is basically just going to be better with Golos at the helm is nuts. The fact that it was
Yeah,
like 40% of EDH rec is nuts. The fact that the decks were basically like you could build any 5 card insane pile you want, 5 color insane pile you want, and be able to play it because the thing is mana fixing and free and lets you play cards off. It's nuts. I love
yeah,
Golos. It's one of my favorite cards ever printed, and I was super sad when it was banned, but also I looked at it, I'm like, there's no way this card is good for Commander.
right.
I'll play this in Cube. It'll be fine, but in Commander, absolutely not.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that they've gotten the message that Wooburg commanders need to have Wooburg in their casting cost.
Yeah. Like,
Um,
who's that dude that showed up in Commander Legends? The guy who lets you get a Black Lotus or whatever? Was it Carthalion? Jared? I don't know.
yeah,
One of those. There's too many
yeah,
legends. There's too many legends. But but yeah, like I think and I hope that they've also started to like understand. Plus, designing more narrow cards is more fun than just draw a card, play a land, draw a card. It's
it's
like
harder. I can speak from experience that it's harder.
sure it's harder, but that's also the challenge is the fun part.
Right.
Okay, well, I guess let's wrap up with what do you think is going to be the most immediate changes that you want to see happen first?
Um, well, don't expect. Nobody should expect an RC appointment in the February update. Right. This is not a. This is a thing we've committed to doing. It's not. It's not something that we're just letting you know because we've already decided. Right. No decisions have been made. Nobody is even close to making a call.
Yeah, like the
Um,
CAG found out like minutes before you guys did, so it's not it's not like this is a long-term coming
it was
decision.
a day.
Sure. Day. But yeah, still it's not like we've had a lot of lengthy discussions about what
Right.
this means.
Right. The and I think it's a discussion. Well, we've already started having
Yeah.
the discussion to some extent. Um, the with you, and I think that discussion will roll on. We will uh, we will do our best to take our time and make this the best possible decision we can make.
Mm.
Whether it's adding whether it's adding one person, whether it's adding two people, um, you know, whether it's telling Toby that his hatred of otters is just too much. Um, we our giveaway on the stream last week was a Toby Elliott's autographed copy of Lutri. um, so I mean that's going to be a big part of what we're working on in the near future. Obviously there will be an update in February. We're meeting. I guess we.
Oh, we
I
should
think we
figure
set
that out.
aside a date. We need to schedule a time for our joint meeting,
Hmm.
and then just start to see slowly roll out these things that I talk about in that article. That um, all of them are equally important, and the I think the RC one will have the biggest
For
impact.
my money, the one that I'm most excited about is seeing the banned explanation paragraphs, because I've been
Yeah,
asking for that for years, and I am very looking forward to being able to have a simple answer as to why is blah banned. Like, look, Sway of the Stars, Worldfire was unbanned. That doesn't mean Sway of the Stars is going to be unbanned. That card is messed up. You
right.
don't want like I once again I go to people and say, like, if you think a card should be unbanned, play with it and then come back and let's have a conversation, and you'll
Right.
understand. Like, some of these cards are just not good. And if you think they're great for your group, then play with it and don't ask me.
More
You'll
power
be
to it.
fine.
Right.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah. I think that will also help the RC and CAG members and anybody who wants to make have discussions an easy thing to copy paste to somebody when they ask online. Why is card X banned? Well, here, let's go to the definitive site and pull it up. That's just it's a project that has been started and stopped in sputters and spurts because again, this is an all volunteer army, and
It takes a lot.
it can
These things take a lot of work, man. Like, and
it's time consuming.
you can't just write stuff and throw it up there. It's got to get like approval, and people need to be like, everybody needs to be on board with what this means, right?
Right, we have to. I mean, the four of us were having a philosophy conversation the other day, and it just turned out that we were disagreeing on a point. And I'm like, well, we got to find where we agree. We have to find the consensus opinion here because,
Yeah.
it's important going forward that when we say, when we make a statement about this philosophical point, that we're all in agreement on what that means. And it was just sort of a, well, I've been operating from the understanding that,
Hmm.
and I said, I think we're, I think we're coming to things a little differently. The good news is the net effect was the same,
Yeah.
right? That like how it washed out was the same, but like the direction that we came from was like, no, I don't think that means what you think it means, or it doesn't mean what I think it means, and we'll have to hammer that out. But yeah, I think we'll see these rolled out. The small updates to the website will be easier. The small bumps on the Discord server will be easier. And I really do. That's a one thing that I'm working with Logan really hard on is like I want the Discord server to be like super value added. Like like do things that other Discord servers don't do in making it good for folks to want to come hang out there.
Yeah. That Discord, I enjoy it quite a bit, and I know I like to mix it up in there a lot, but it's fun and it's interesting to be able to sit and just see where people are coming to the format from, because it helps me
Yes.
understand where my perspective is different from yours, and I think it's really neat. But with that in mind, though, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today, Sheldon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always good to come and chat with you about whatever the hell we want to talk about.
Well, it's like I thought this was a really interesting. Like when I asked you on, I didn't have a topic in mind. I was just like, "Oh, let's update with Sheldon." It turns out there was quite an update with Sheldon. So this
Yeah.
this is a fascinating conversation, and I look forward to seeing where the format goes. But I guess here's the plugs time. So if you want to tell people where to find you, Mr. Sheldon Menery, the person that nobody who's listening to this podcast has any idea who it is,
Right.
go ahead.
Hey, and that actually honestly happened in the Reddit group. It wasn't a troll. Like the person was like, "Who are you?" And of course, everybody, let them know. But yeah, it happens. I have a link tree, so you can just look up
Sure.
my name on Linktree. But you can find me on Twitter and Facebook by my name, and you can find me certainly in the RC Discord server. You can find me on Twitch.tv's Commander RC every Thursday night playing with both the RC members and some special guests. That's one of those things you might see us do a little more of in the new year, is find a second day of the week to stream. And of course, every Sunday you can find me talking about the greatest format in the history of Magic on StarCityGames.com.
It is funny though that like you had an article where one half is like, we're going to be shaking up the format leadership and adding new people, and then at the bottom, oh, we're also doing extra streams. It's like, okay, bro.
Well, that's why I didn't bury the lead, right?
No, I'm glad that I'm glad you started with that one, because it would have been a real just incongruous, like, wait, what? Yeah, rad. And as always, my friends, you can find me at Gear Per Years. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at Cool Stuff Inc. It comes out every Tuesday. Show's been brought to you by Cool Stuff, Coalesce, and Architect. And remember, my friends, it is not magic without the gathering, and we will see you next time.